All right, now let me explain to you how the Lord was showing us that this was just 6 months of great tribulation that we were looking at right here. Remember that each year of Daniel's 70th week, as Renee Moses has explained, each year represents a day. Okay, and each year began, as I have F tab right here, as the Feast of Tabernacles. Because as we know, the 70th week of Daniel began in 2009 on October 9th, which was the 7th day of Tabernacles, with Obama's Nobel Peace Prize, the covenant with many for 1 week. So each year begins on the 7th day of Tabernacles the following year. We are now in year 7, and the 7th year ends on, as I have here, YK, that's Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Because in Daniel 9:24, it says that one of the reasons for the 70 weeks of judgment is to make atonement for sin. So telling you that when it's finished, it will be finished on the Day of Atonement, will end it. So the 7th year began on Feast of Tabernacles 2019 and ends on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, in 2020. As you can see here, I have 7th year, and that's the end of the 70th week. Now, Renee Moses has talked about, and she's right, how Hanukkah of 2019 was to be the beginning of the Day of the Lord. What was supposed to be 3 years from Hanukkah 2017 to Hanukkah 2020 was shortened down to 1/3, just 1 year. But even the 1/3 is divided into just half a year. So the Day of the Lord did begin on Hanukkah 2019, but the judgment is withheld and will only just be 6 months, just half a year. So from Hanukkah 2019 to Hanukkah 2020, that's the Day of the Lord. Now, we come to how it's just 6 months, okay? So again, as I said, Hanukkah 2019 to Hanukkah 2020, it's been divided and split into 2 halves. It'll just be 6 months. So just as a day has light and darkness, the first half of the year of the Lord, the Day of the Lord, the first 6 months represents the light, the day. Then after day comes night. The second half, the other 6 months, the final 6 months would be the night. Okay? So 6 months of day, which is what we're still in now, and then 6 months of darkness, 6 months of night. Now, let me show you how Jesus confirmed that to us in John chapter 9, 10, and 11. Now watch. John chapter 9, remember this is when Jesus is about to perform a miracle on the Sabbath and the Pharisees get upset. John chapter 9 verse 1, the Gospel of John chapter 9 verse 1. It says, "And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him." Now watch what he says in verse 4. He says, "I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day." Okay, while it is day, I must work the works of him that sent me, the first 6 months, the first half of the day. The night comes when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. So he said the night comes when no man can work. So remember, this is on the Sabbath day, and he's about to be performing a miracle on the Sabbath day, and the Pharisees rebuke him for performing the miracle on the Sabbath, for working on the Sabbath, representing the 7th year. The Sabbath year of Daniel's 70th week. But the 7 years, the Sabbath year would be the 7th year. The miracle he performs is he restores the sight of a blind man. So someone who couldn't see received perfect vision, as in the year of perfect vision 2020. You understand? So God was pointing us to the 7th year, 2020. Okay? And he was pointing us to Hanukkah, because when we go to the next chapter, John chapter 10, you guys know this, you've heard this many times, in verse 22, John 10:22, it says, "And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter. And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch." Okay? And this is when he revealed to them, "I and my Father are one." Now, so pointing to Hanukkah of the 7th year in the year of perfect vision, 2020. Okay? So now we know that it's Hanukkah. Now, when we go to the next chapter, which is John chapter 11, notice what happens here. Now, in John chapter 11, verse 1, "Now a certain man was sick named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. When Jesus heard that, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Now listen, verse 7. Then after that saith he to his disciples, Let us go into Judea again. His disciples say unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou there again? Jesus answered and said, Listen to this, pay attention. Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he see the light of this world. But if any man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. Now, a day we know is 24 hours. Why did Jesus say, are there not still 12 hours in the day? So if Jesus were to say, remember that for the Jews, the days are broken up into, it begins on the sunset of the day before, evening, and it goes from the evening to the following evening, 24 hours later. So if there's been 12 hours and Jesus is saying, is there not still 12 hours? What time of day was it when he said that? What time would it be? That would be sunrise, about 6 in the morning, which is sunrise, pointing to the rising sun. He was pointing to the sun god rising at the halfway point of the day. You see? So just like, is there not still 12 hours in the day? Is there not still half of the day of the Lord? Half of the day left, 6 months. Okay? See, you understand that? So he was pointing us to the Sabbath day, the 7th year of Daniel's 70th week, the year of perfect vision, because he restored sight to the blind. He gave the blind man sight for the first time. He who could not see from birth now has perfect vision, and pointing us to the halfway point, saying that the night is coming. I must do the works of him that sent me in the day. Night is coming when no man can work. The other 6 months are about to occur when no man can work, pointing to halfway between one Hanukkah and the other Hanukkah, which would take you right to about June of this year. And as I said to you guys, Pentecost is in the final weekend of May, from May 29th to May 31st, just before we get to June, the halfway point, the beginning of the night. So there is one confirmation right there of this being only a 6-month period of Great Tribulation, and it will begin right around the time of Pentecost. But there's so much more to this, and I'm going to continue and roll right into this. I'm going to try to make this several shorter videos instead of 1 or 2 longer videos, all right? But I'm going to continue right into this because there is so much more that's going to prove this to you. Renee Moses is dead on accurate about her timing. We are about to begin the night, the second half of the day of the Lord, which means the rapture is about to happen because Jesus will not be here for it. The light of the world is about to be removed, which will begin the 6 months of night, the darkness, with no light. Okay, I'll get to that right now. Let's continue and keep this rolling. This is really crazy.